The hardest kind of insecurity to spot is the kind that gets promoted. It does not look nervous. It looks certain. It talks first. It talks longest. And it has an answer before the question is finished. It calls fear high standards. It calls defensiveness conviction. And from inside the leader, it can feel like strength. I know because I spent more than 20 years watching this leadership up close, and because I felt every pull on the list I'm about to give to you. Sometimes I've followed them. That matters. This is not an episode about separating secure people from broken ones. Self-doubt is very human. The leadership problem begins when we make everybody else carry it. So today, 4 things insecure leaders do without realizing it, and the better move when you catch one happening in yourself. I'm Tanner Bechtel, and this is Humanity Leads. So before the list, one rule. We're going to describe behavior, not diagnose people today. You can't see another person's private motives. We don't know. The boss who dominates a meeting might be insecure. They may also be rushed or unskilled or exhausted or just wrong. But the team does not need a diagnosis to name the effect. They know whether it feels dangerous to bring bad news. They know whether the leader needs to be the smartest person in the room. They know whether credit travels up and blame travels down. They know what happens when somebody asks a hard question. And I want to keep myself inside this conversation. I know the feeling of walking into a meeting over-prepared and talking too quickly because I wanted the room to know that I belong there. I know that flash of defensiveness when a question lands on work I care about. I know how easy it is to explain your intention to yourself while everybody else is living with that impact. That does not make me uniquely self-aware. It makes me a person with a nervous system and a leadership job. The answer is not shame. Shame usually makes insecurity put on a better costume. The answer is learning to catch the behavior sooner, repair it faster, and make the next truth safer to tell. Self-doubt is not what makes somebody a bad leader. I want to get that out there. Unexamined self-doubt can make them behave like one. Security is not walking into every room convinced you belong there. Security is being able to field the question, do I belong here? Without forcing the room to answer it for you. The insecurity is yours. It lives with you. Leadership begins with learning not to export it to your team. Number 1, fear becomes a management system. So fear works. It's why leaders use it a lot. You snap at somebody once and the next meeting is quieter. You make an example out of somebody who brought bad news, and then people will just bring you less of it. You apply enough pressure and deadlines even move. From the leader's chair, that silence can look like team alignment. It's most often risk management. People are not agreeing with you. They're calculating what is safe to say around you. A study of employee silence by Frances Milliken, Elizabeth Morrison, and Patricia Hewlin asked people about issues they did not communicate upward. In that study sample, most respondents said there was at least one important issue they had kept quiet. The reasons included fear of negative consequences and a belief that speaking would not make a difference. That is the invoice fear sends later, right? The concern that arrives after the decision, the customer problem everybody knew except for the leader. The person who resigns after months of telling everybody else, everything's fine, I'm great. Here is the tell. Do people bring you good news quickly and bad news slowly? If the answer is yes, do not congratulate yourself on having a calm team. Your people may be doing emotional weather forecasting. How much truth can the boss handle today? Which version will cost me the least? And what can wait until somebody else says it? It's not alignment. That's a team in a room managing you. The better move is not just be nicer. It is making bad news useful. Thank the first person who says it. Ask what they're seeing. Separate the messenger from the problem. Then let the room watch you do something intelligent with that truth. Super important. Number 2, certainty becomes a performance. The second leak is the need to perform authority. And when I say perform, I mean act it out. Talking first, talking the most, talking the last. I think all of us have seen this at some point in time in our life. Somebody who has an instant opinion because I do not know feels more like a public audit and an admission. That is not a meeting. That's more like a keynote that nobody wants, right? The cost is not merely that the leader becomes exhausting. The room becomes less intelligent. When a senior person answers first, everybody else begins editing what they say, thinking around that leader's answer. They don't want to be completely different than them. The leader gets the comfort of sounding decisive, but she loses the information that might have improved the overall decision just by speaking out and being upfront and setting the tone. So research by Allison Wood Brooks and a few other colleagues looked at a question across several live conversation studies. People who asked more questions, especially follow-up questions, tended to be liked more because they were experienced as more responsive. Curiosity didn't make them disappear. It helped another person feel heard. Insecurity enters a meeting asking, "How do I prove I deserve this chair?" Leadership enters asking, "How do we use every brain in this room to make a better decision?" Those questions produce entirely different outcomes. One of them needs an audience to hear. The other needs information to decide. If you want to sound smarter in your next meeting, resist the urge to speak first. Ask a better question. The practice is simple. Before you give your view, ask two questions whose answers might genuinely change it. Not cross-examination. Do not cross-examine someone offering you insight. And not a question shaped like your opinion wearing a fake mustache, right? A real question. Number 3, credit becomes a scarce resource. The third leak is hoarding the light. To explain that, insecure leaders, they don't always steal credit in an obvious way. They simply make themselves difficult to remove from the story. The team's work becomes what we have been driving. The leader's idea becomes the strategy I set, even when they didn't necessarily do the work. When the result is good, pronouns can get really interesting with people. Underneath that kind of behavior is kind of a quiet belief. There's a fixed amount of value in the room. If my people look exceptional, somebody may wonder what I contributed. I see this a lot in leadership. But leadership research points in an entirely different direction. Bradley Owens and David Heckman studied leader humility across 161 different teams. Leaders who modeled teachability, acknowledged limits, and recognized other people's strength helped create more collective humility in the team, which supported stronger performance. Giving light away did not make the leader smaller. It made the whole system stronger. It made the whole thing stronger. The best leaders I know can tell a story of a win and make the actual contributors visible by name. They call them out. They're quick to give credit. They understand that developing people is not evidence that the leader is unnecessary. It's evidence that the leader is leading. They're working. It's working. So the practice, how do you make this work? In your next update or meeting or report, replace one vague "we" with the name of the person who did the actual work, the standout person. And then stop talking before you find a way to put yourself back into it. Number 4, questions become attacks. The fourth leak is the most dangerous because it disables the early warning system. Somebody challenges the plan. The leader's ears hear, "You are not qualified." So the certainty rises, the answer gets longer, and the question can be treated like disloyalty. Your teams learn very quickly. Questions are expensive if you're in this state. So flaws stay in the plan until our customers find them. Amy Edmondson's early research on hospital teams found a pattern that looked backward at first. Some stronger teams appeared to report more medication errors. You heard that right. Stronger teams reported more errors. The important distinction was not simply who made mistakes. It was which teams could detect, discuss, and learn from them. And apparently, clean record can mean excellent work. It can also mean that telling the truth costs too much. Ask yourself, When was the last time somebody junior to you changed your mind in front of other people? And what did the room see you do next? Defend your answer? Explain why you were basically right? Or say, you're right, man. I missed that. Let's change that. Let's edit that. Let's adjust. The strongest leader in the room is not the one who is never corrected. It is the one secure enough to make that correction useful, no matter the audience. So let's talk about the difference between courage and the costume of courage. This is where somebody will usually say, fake it till you make it. There's a healthy version of that. Stand up even when you're nervous. Speak clearly while your confidence catches up with you. I have done that a lot. Do the prepared work instead of waiting to feel fearless. That's courage. The unhealthy version is performing certainty you don't have. Bluffing instead of asking. It's treating every room like a stage and every colleague like a potential critic. That's not practicing confidence. It's rehearsing the avoidance of insecurity. And that kind of performance creates a trap. You never discover whether the honest version of you would have been enough. You never get real evidence. So the doubt stays hungry. Here is my personal insight under all four of those behaviors. You experience self-doubt, and then they experience your behavior. This is why self-awareness is not private maintenance for a leader. It's public. It is part of the working environment. You do not need to become a person who never feels insecure. That's not healthy and that's not realistic. You need to become a person who can feel insecurity without making everybody else live inside of it. Self-awareness is not a soft skill. It is the scaffolding. It is infrastructure for you. Everything your team does and becomes is built on that. Here's your one thing this week. Choose a person who works closely with you and ask them, what is one thing that's hard to tell me? Only ask if you're willing not to punish the answer. When it comes, do not explain your intent. Don't defend. Don't correct the details in real time. Say, thank you. I want to think about that. And then actually think about it. Return later. Tell them what you heard. Tell them you heard them, what you agree with, and what you're going to do. The goal is not to prove you can take feedback. The goal is to make their next truth less expensive. Because secure leadership is not the absence of doubt, not ever. We will always doubt ourselves. It is the decision that your doubt will not be the loudest person in the room. I'm Tanner Bechtel. This is Humanity Leads. Thanks for spending this week with me. If you recognized a boss in this episode, pause before you send it. Work your way into this one. I'll see you next week.